Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are locked in from right now. You are in tune to the sound of the End Product podcast. Myself, Stish, joined by my ever-present partner in crime, Quinny. How you doing?
Very good, mate. Very good. And we've got a good one today. It's not quite Christmas Eve, depends on when you're listening to this, but it is essentially the game week before Christmas, and there's a lot of stuff going on. I've got a wee bit of a Grinch haircut on the go today for anyone that's watching this on Twitch or on the YouTube or whatever. But I'm looking forward to it. It's been a topsy-turvy little week or two in Sorare land, kind of on and off the pitch, on the leaderboards, in the reward prize pools, and a few bits and bobs in between, Stishy. So plenty of end product to hunt down and discuss today. Should be a good one. I'm up for it.
Yeah, definitely. We've been talking off air about some of the things that we wanted to cover because it started to feel a little bit like, I know it's not quite the end of the year, is it? But like, we'll probably squeeze one more in before the turn of 2023 into 24. But we're gonna get through a few of those kind of year-end topics today. So Quinny, I'm looking forward to picking your brain on some of the highlights of 2023, some of your top players, some of your best rewards, all of that. We'll get into some of that. Gang, it's episode 79. We are fast approaching 90 minutes on the end product, aren't we? But I'm sure we'll have plenty of injury time to get through as well, Quinny. We're not looking to slow down anytime soon. On the subject of end product, let's get straight into it. Quinny, did you have any joy over the weekend? Any thresholds to report? Anything like that?
Absolutely nada. To be honest with you, mate, I had a terrible time of it, and this midweek hasn't been much better. I'm kind of just waiting to get into the weekend, but I know that's not quite the case for yourself again.
Oh, I think like I got quite lucky over the weekend. Managed to get in the super rare threshold. Came in. Always nice to get that. Definitely one of my favorite things to win at the moment, because it's like there's no doubt. You know, the elements of doubt that have crept in with some of the rewards rebalancing, those DMPs like we discussed. So that $250 or $250 threshold, I think it is, from Cap 240 Super is much welcome, especially at this time of year. But also, Quinny, I'm currently sat in first place on a Cap 240 Super Rare. So as it stands, first place, 444.65 points, and I'm in position at the moment to hold, hopefully, on for a tier 2 super and a tier 4 unique, which would be the first unique that I've ever won on the platform if it comes in. So fingers crossed, I'll be watching the fixtures this evening. Just keep an eye on everyone else's scores, really. I think most of my players that are going to compete for anything this week have probably already played. There's an outsider on a randomly chucked. It's been for me one of those game weeks where literally everything has gone very, very well for me. Even in the sort of teams where I just chucked a team in to try and like get a few coins or something like that. So I chucked a 4-man team into Cap 270 Super Rare. And the 3 that played, obviously Etienne Green wasn't going to play, so he went in goal. But I had Julian Araujo, Sepp Vandenberg, and Chris Furyk captain in that team. And Araujo got a goal line clearance. Sepp Vandenberg got a goal. And Chris Furyk, captain, hit a goal and a nice bit of all around, bringing his score up to 163 with the captain bonus. So that lineup even finds itself just outside the rewards at the moment with a player left to play, although that player is Conan Jocelyn of Leuven, who hasn't seen that many minutes this season. But if he gets off the bench, who knows? If he can hit a decisive, amazing. But even if he hits a little 25 points, that could see itself scraping into tier 5 territory, which will put me in amongst the Russian roulette that is DMPs in the prize pool right now, especially in that tier 5. But I'll be happy to win anything if I can scrape a tier 5 from a team that I chucked in to try and win a few coins. I'll be more than happy. Other than that, All-Star Rare currently sat in 27th as well. Donnarumma losing that clean sheet might keep me out of like the better end of the rewards, but hopefully that will stay in the cash places. So all around, it's been a extremely fruitful game week so far. So yeah, like I said, not too much to watch for this evening. I'll be watching other people's results and just hoping I can hang into that number one place. Rascal Masaki has said, any luck in the 220s? That's a good point. Something that I can now see that as it stands, I think I've found myself currently in just inside tier 5 on rare rewards and tier 4 on limiteds. I don't think I'm going to find my way into the super rare prizes. What about yourself, Quinny? Any joy in the 220s?
So I think sorry mate, I was trying to, we've got some lively chat in here. So as you're going through your 240 domination there, sorry, I was just checking in. So I did see this earlier this morning. Channy Fistbump was in the chat and he asked if we'd seen the podcast appearance that Nicholas had done. And I did see it this morning and didn't go back to dig into it before the pod. So I just had a wee click about to try and find it just now. There isn't really much I can see in English. I think you would need to maybe watch the thing with subtitles because there's only a couple of posts with maybe a headline or two. The card supply is set to change or something. Supply, what's the quote say? There will be changes to card supply and we renegotiated the rights with leagues as the kind of headlines I can find a translation against on like a post or a blog kind of part of it. So maybe need to check into that a little bit further. But where you're sitting, and then what we're kind of talking about now, sorry, it kind of all wraps in together with a lot of the furore that we've had over the last couple of days of like the DNP rewards. Now, I do think you, Stishy Boy, are probably jackpotted on this because if I'm right, this is the last game week of 220s. So this will be the trophy day, Friday night, where the month-longs get paid out. Now, I think there's extra pressure to put out crap prizes right before good prizes. So
maybe, yeah.
Last time the monthlies came out, it was a big trophy day. The timeline was popping. Everyone was like, oh, wow, look at this. Look at that. I got in the monthly. So I think you've picked a really good game week to finish top or something.
Yeah, I was wondering because I thought, obviously, we've had all the DMPs and stuff. I mean, my expectation, if that unique does come in for me, it'd be a tier 4. So I won't have particularly high expectations of that being, you can't expect a lot from a tier 4 unique win. And I won't expect anything like outstanding to be given away. But the tier 2 super rare could potentially be a really nice card win. So like you said, I think if I won it last week, I could have ended up with a complete dud, like a non-playing player who maybe had a decent last sale about 7 months ago, that sort of thing. So hopefully this is a good week to win. We'll find out soon enough anyway. If I do manage to hold on to that podium place, I'll be sure to let everyone know next week what we brought home. But yeah, I think you're right. Fingers crossed. I think it takes back to that week that the last time I had a really good couple of game weeks back to back when I won, I think it was U23, and it was like, right, we're in Mbappe territory, and won the Donnarumma. And it was like, oh, a bit gutted that it's Donnarumma, but great win. And then the next week, I won Champ, and it was, I remember we were talking then, it was like, looking at the previous week when no Mbappe's had been given out, it's like, if you want the best opportunity of winning Mbappe, you want to win the division a week after, and none have been rewarded, or none have been rewarded for a while. So, yeah, I definitely agree with that that ethos of that way of thinking that, coming off the back of a couple of weeks where people have been a bit disappointed with rewards, they need to steady the ship again. Hopefully, fingers crossed, I land in a nice little reward pool somewhere. But yeah, I think
you wouldn't turn your nose up at the T4 unique because that's where I got my Ivan Martin was a tier 4 unique, and he's now probably a tier 3, plays every week. So let's hope you get a nice wee bit of tier 4 luck.
I'll definitely be hoping for, given the uniques I've got, they're not all playing at the moment really, or putting up big scores, so I'm not likely to be competing in that division anytime soon. But if I can land a goalkeeper or a forward, and I don't mind if the goalkeeper's a non-playing goalkeeper, I think there's
value in a DNP, isn't there?
Yeah, a bit of value in a DNP. It might open up cap 240 for me. If I get a goalkeeper or a forward, I say ideally if a forward plays, fantastic. And I don't mind. I'm not so worried about, if I can win like a youngster that is a DMP, I'm a little bit less bothered about that. So yeah, like I said, I don't know what to expect. I'll take whatever comes with if the unique lands, I take a tier 4. But yeah, I'll be very excited about the potential tier 2. I did kind of trick myself earlier. I sport it already and had a little look in the pool, didn't I? And that's so.
No.
It's never, but it is a big pool. The tier 2 super rare pool is a very big pool. So there's a huge range in there of like good to who is that guy. So yeah, I'll be excited. It'll be nice. I don't think I've had like a really good super rare win for a little while. I've definitely landed lucky in the pools a couple of times, so maybe I am due a dud. I feel like I've been very lucky this last year with some of the rewards. Maybe not so much in the super rare pools. So fingers crossed, I get a banger of a bit of end product right before Christmas. That'd be lovely.
Fingers crossed, you mate.
Fingers crossed, definitely. In other news, Quinny, on a less positive note, I have to send commiserations to probably about 98% of any of our listeners, people who play so rare, especially those in the Korean football community, who today have, with heavy hearts, had to digest the information on our news feeds that Osmar, the legend himself, is leaving FC Seoul. Their second all-time appearance in the appearances list, captain of championship winning sides out there, and he's leaving. Can't believe it. I'm absolutely gutted. I looked at the news in the week and I started worrying about it. I was like, can I get rid of, I've got 2 super rares of Osmar. So I thought if I can get rid of one for a bit of money, great. But
what if he goes to China?
He's off to Malaysia, apparently.
He's off already? And it's Malaysia?
Yeah, he's off to Malaysia. It's all done and dusted, apparently. So yeah, I think I'm probably going to be landed with those 2. I didn't have any. It's a weird one, right? Because I think this is one of my most expensive purchases that's moved to an uncovered league. I think, like the closest thing that's happened to me like this before was when Levitt got relegated. But at his age, you're like, he's probably going to move. You don't have the same feeling that, Osmar for me was one of the first big purchases I made in super rare terms. He was on the market. He was putting up big scores. I was aware of him. His number 1 super. And I was like, do you know what? I'm going for this. I think I paid 1.5 ETH for it or something, which at the time was a few grand. Do you know what I mean? And that was like the start of my big boy pants season in so rare. So yeah, I am going to be absolutely gutted that we're not going to be able to watch him ping in those passes sideways for 9 minutes, racking up absolutely atrocious numbers of passes completed. So it's a fond farewell, but I'm going to keep in my gallery, I think, just because there's what's the point in selling him for 5-10 quid that I might get. His collection bonuses in there next to, I've got Bake Jong Bomb in there from the same season, super rare. So he's staying in the gallery and he will forever be a legend in the folklore and the history of Club Tropicana Drinks FC. And I'm sure there are many listeners. I know we've got Rascal Misaki in the chat who says he's in mourning. And it does. It feels like someone's died. I'm not going to lie. So, yeah, thank you, Osmar. Thanks for the memories. I might try and post I've definitely posted a few Osmar videos down the years. So I have to drag a few of those out and make a really like sad edit that I can put on my socials.
Well, it might be an end of a generation at Seoul, because for anyone that's been keen on the timeline, they'll have seen that Ki Sung Young has been touring Europe. He's been meeting with Brendan Rodgers, I think Jose Mourinho, and he was at Real Madrid as well. I've seen him over there talking to Bellingham, telling him how it's done. And, maybe Key's going to be moving. Maybe Key's retiring. I don't know what his contract status is or whatever. Key has been absolutely everywhere. Yeah, he's been everywhere. He's always pictured with tactics boards. and you know, like, and clearly like getting instructions on how these people are coaching and stuff, which is brilliant. And so yeah, I don't really know what the situation is with Key, but can you imagine an FC Seoul on Sorare next year with no Key Sung Young and no Osmar? Doesn't feel like that reality exists, does it?
They've got a really good new manager lined up for next season. There's a lot of excitement, but this definitely feels like excitement comes with a tinge of sadness at the moment, because if they do lose Key and Osmar, you know, that is, and I think as well, Go Johan,
end of an era.
End of an era, and Go Johan, the all-time leader in appearances, is rumored to be potentially taking a there's talk about player managerial role, so they can try and like bed him into managerial position there. So he might have played his last game for Seoul as well. Who knows? The next few weeks, I'm sure a lot will unfold, but they'll be interesting to watch next season, especially with the return of Cho Young Wook as well from military service. But yeah, there's talk of Kim Ju Sung potentially moving on as well. Rumors of him going to Europe. Yeah, there's a lot happening at Seoul right now. So, and I'm going to get to go out there. I can't believe I'm going to be in Seoul in February, and I'm not even going to get the opportunity to go to a game and watch Osmar in the flesh. It's going to feel like a completely different team.
Yeah, definitely feels like we opportunity missed. Sadly, just it was not to be on this one. But I'm so surprised it's Malaysia. I would have found it hard to imagine he would come back to Europe, having spent so long in Asia. It's hard to imagine anyone would be interested, or he'd be capable of moving. You know, anyone would have the confidence he could play bottom end La Liga, bottom end, but you know, whatever. I don't know. So Malaysia's not wildly surprising, but I would have hoped for anyone who's got his cards taken, it might have been like a China or even a Saudi. You know, where there's some sort of hope of utility. But Malaysia's never going to happen, is it?
I thought he was going to go to Thailand because he came from there before, and there were some links to him potentially returning to the Thai club that he came from. So when it was Malaysia, apparently it's something to do with a lot of like a good package there that includes like him kind of getting on the road to managerial training, that kind of thing. So yeah,
I think Raja Nangalan went to one of those countries, and part of his contract is that he is like employed by the government to be like on all their tourist adverts and stuff like that. So I think it's Indonesia, because I think he has roots there.
Got you.
I think it's Indonesia. So Raja Nainggolan plays in Indonesia, and he's part of his job is also to be like the tourist ambassador for Indonesia on all their adverts and promotions and campaigns they might be running to host tournaments of some kind, you know. So yeah, those Southeast Asian territories are definitely creative in how they pay their players, let's say.
Yeah. I mean, Osmar seems to be a pretty well-traveled guy as well. You can hear him on podcasts. You know, he speaks multiple languages. He seems a very well-educated man. So part of the allure of this might be, you know, go live in Malaysia, beautiful part of the world, somewhere else that, you know, another stamp on his passport, on his CV. And yeah, I mean, I'm just surprised that he's been let go, to be honest, because, you know, there was some stats published this week by the K League, and he, you know, he finished top of the pile on, I think it was Jules 1 or something like that, as in defenders. You know, he's still a top performer in that division. So yeah, quite surprised that it all seemed to happen quick as well. I don't know about any other people who follow the K League, but the rumors were circling maybe what feels like 2 or 3 days ago, and today we've got the announcement. It's happening. It's done. But I feel like this could be the beginning of a lot of similar news like this for anyone who plays Asia and, you know, MLS. There seems to be a lot of movement back and forth there. I noticed a couple of my players have re-signed for new clubs where they have been released. So it's all action. It makes you realize, you know, obviously in Europe, we have those windows in January and then at the end of the season. But there is a lot of activity happening already in Asia and in the MLS. So we'll be all eyes on it, and fingers crossed for some good moves for us and our galleries and for everyone listening as well, because the Osmar one is definitely going to need to balance itself back out somewhere in that gallery. He's going to be well missed, definitely. But Quinny, on the subject of club legends, Quinny, one of the things that I thought would be cool to talk about today, as we're coming to the end of the year, Quinny, if you're having the FC Barcelona Christmas do this week, who would your 2023 Player of the Year be? Who do you reckon?
I think the FC Barcelona 2023 Player of the Year would. It's quite a tough one because it's been a long year. I had to go back through and see, who's actually won some cards and who's actually been scoring and who's actually been part of some winning teams. And it was actually kind of tough to separate a few guys, but as soon as I seen one guy, I was like, yeah, he's got to get it. And I'm going with Liam Scales.
Oh yeah, good shout. Big shout there.
Yeah.
He's definitely overachieved in terms of what people were expecting from him, I think. And when they signed Phillips as well, a lot of people probably expected Phillips would slot in next to Carter Vickers when he came back from injury, and Scales he's come in and just said nope. I don't know what happens to Phillips come January. I guess there was going to be talks of whether or not they wanted to renew till the end of the season or send him back. What do you think is going to happen to him?
Phillips has gone back. It's decided already. It's only a 6-month deal, so he's gone back in January. 100%. It's done.
It's
I don't think he'll play again for Celtic at this point. I think he's done enough to get his medal that was probably promised to him for doing the deal,
Right.
And that'll be it. But no, I'm just having a quick look at it because Scales came into my club, the Super Rare especially, like really cheap when he was at Aberdeen. And it was always with I never really thought he'd get back into the Celtic team, but I liked him at Celtic and I thought he was maybe just not quite there. But since coming in, he's helped me win a couple of thresholds. He also helped me to third, and where I won a Wilfie Nonto Super Rare, which was good fun. And then a 12th, a 24th, so top 25 finishes, got some nice cards off of him there. And then not too long ago, he helped me to 5th, where I won the first of the series of DNP rewards that everyone else has been picking up. But the DNP I got kind of threw me off, Stish, because my DNP was a rookie, and it was in tier 3. So I was like, okay, because the first... the auction prices for it they're not small,
Yeah.
So that kind of threw me off. I didn't really see the whole thing until I'm on the timeline, and everyone was like, "Oh, everyone's DNP'd for the rewards up." So Scales has been there. I know I played him probably unsuccessfully, looking at the reward history here, but he started off as an under 23 super rare at FC Barcelona, and then slowly but surely he's worked his way through the 240 team into the All-Star super rare team, and he's my number 1 defender now. So. Player of the Year, super rare, whatever. Liam Scales. Congratulations.
I like that. I'm going through mine now to have a little look at some potentials. I think that obviously for me, if there's some obvious picks there, like that Joey Veerman's obviously had an incredible season at PSV, and he finished the season last year really well as well. And I'm just trying to get his page up now just to check on like actual rewards to see, because there's a couple of options here. Another one that I really want, I think deserves special mention, is Felipe of Chengdu, centre forward, picked up his super rare before the start of the Chinese Super League season last year. Pretty cheap. I can't remember exactly how much, but it was not a lot. And looking at some of the rewards that he's been a part of winning, the first reward he picked up for me was Ter Stegen, which is like an incredible tier 0, more than paid for him. He's picked up a Yannick Hoof, another goalkeeper rare there. And then he's helped me win 5 super rares, including Sakasa Shiatani, Lucas Robertone, Nicholas Kuhn, and Omar Colley, who are all players that are extremely useful as super rares. And then most recently, he was part of the lineup that won Juan Brunetta rare, who is one of the most useful scorers in the game. So got to give a shout out to Felipe. I think beside the obvious pick of Joey Veerman, that is a card that maybe, has massively outperformed in terms of like ROI. Buying a player that no one knows or cares about and using it to win the likes of Ter Stegen is what Sorare is all about for me. So got to give him a shout. Felipe, I cannot wait to have you in the lineups again in 2024 as soon as that Chinese Super League gets underway. Be looking forward to hopefully seeing a return of Romulo in that team as well, and we can see them both tearing things up for me. But I think Felipe probably deserves a special mention. I think Veerman would be a bit of a boring pick, really. So Felipe for me.
And then the other little category we had was favourite reward win of the year. Now, I was having a scroll through this, right? So I think the game week for the calendar year started at like 3:32 or something like that. So I had a look through my rewards from game week 3:33, 3:32, that kind of time period onwards. And you're on Sorare Date, you've got that lovely little button you can click that shows you the ones you've kept.
Yeah.
So that it just kind of... So I've done that, right? To see, first of all, like, is there any if I won someone and they've been here for ages, and there's not anyone really that have done that over the full year. But one of the things that does smack me in the face here is when one of my best positions this year, game week 347, I finished third in All-Star, and I won. It was one of the first game weeks where they were doing 2 card payouts. So I won a super rare and a rare. Some of you might remember it, but I won a super rare Carlo Holsa, which was killing it for Rosenborg. Can you remember the rare that came with it?
I do remember Carlo Holst because I remember texting you about it because he was on my watch list and I was like, oh, he'll be a good one to hold. Who was the rare?
James Ward-Prowse at Southampton.
And
he's no longer at the club. And as soon as I seen that, I thought, wow, imagine, I kind of forgot I had him. I was like, imagine I kept him like this whole time. Like he would have probably been reward of the year, I think. But sadly, he was sold. We never really got much SO5 utility out of him. There's a few other guys that fall into that. And then see that out of the guys that I've won that I've kept, the only ones I would make mention of in this segment is Christian Romero, Taki Kubo, both rares, both quite recent. And the guy that will probably go on to win this reward is the unique Ivan Martin that I won. So I don't think I could give it to any other reward, obviously, than my first unique. One is a tier 4, like I was saying to you earlier, but he now like plays all the time. I'd be very surprised if categorically wasn't a tier 3, bordering on a tier 2 now. So
yeah,
definitely my favourite reward. Goes into the Girona kind of ethos of the club, that kind of little thing. Unfortunately, not the same season. Obviously, this is a different scarcity, but plays all the time. And yeah, it's probably the guy I would give it to. Wee bit of a Veerman pick because it's the biggest card I've won, but it's kind of like looking at what I could pick from. It's kind of the only one I can pick.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it's hard, isn't it, I'm having a look because obviously I was fortunate enough to win an Mbappe this year, and you know, for me, one of the best players in the world, if not the best player in the world, and definitely one of the best scorers on Sorare. But then obviously even better now that we haven't had any mints from PSG this season, that made him like even more scarce on the platform. Yet, that's a good point.
Who knows?
So I was just having a little look at some of the like standout rewards to see what they've won me since as well, just so you know like how useful they've been as well. So it's one thing to get, you know, the excitement of winning the Mbappe was unparalleled, definitely. But you know, I've also won a Donnarumma, who helped me win the Mbappe. So is Ian with a shout? Do you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't have won the Mbappe without winning the Donnarumma. And if I look at the rewards that Donnarumma's helped me win, you're looking at 5 ETHs worth of rewards there, which is insane. So I have to give a shout out to the Donnarumma. Mbappe's won the gaming yield of Mbappe is currently at 3.5 ETH plus about 0.7 in cash.
Nice.
But another really, really good reward, a man you'll be familiar with, is of course Matt O'Reilly, who has been in lineups that went on to, you know, part win Antonio Nusa, Harry Kane, recently Victor Shigankov as well. So yeah, I've been really fortunate with rewards, and the beauty of winning good rewards is putting them to work and getting them to win you something, getting that return on the compound of interest, if you like, on the ROI. So yeah, I think for me, it's got to be Mbappe, just because of who he is, what that means on the platform to win. But yeah, I've been really fortunate looking at some of these rewards, Donnarumma, Mbappe, and particularly Matt O'Reilly, all being put to work to go on and win. You know, Harry Kane most recently. Ter Stegen's probably got to be up there. He must have been a part of some good lineups as well, looking at what I've done with that. Yeah, and he helped win Grimaldo, Kane. So yeah, I think Kane, obviously a lot of people think, oh, you know, Kane or Mbappe. Kane's still a bit fresh in my gallery, so he can't compete with the Mbappe or Donnarumma. in terms of the ROI. But I've definitely had a good year. It's going to be really hard to top that next year, I think. But I think Mbappe edges it for me just for the prestige of winning that card on top of what it's yielded so far. I'm sure it will continue to yield for me as well. So yeah, reward of the season, I think has to be Mbappe. I was just thinking as we was doing this as well. We haven't spoke about this off air, so this I'm going to put this right on you now. And I haven't thought about it either. But you remember playing football growing up? There was always like the most improved player award that kind of went to the kid who just tried his hardest in training.
Yeah.
Who's your most improved player this season? Is there a card that was absolutely useless and then became useful?
I must have one like that. I must. I'm kind of looking at my board at the moment, but
Yeah, I'm trying to find one.
Halfway useless guy that. Well, I think probably he got a wee knock, got a wee injury. Do you know? I was about to say Yangel Herrera, but I might actually go with Brais Mendes, by the way, because they've been fantastic, right? But what some people are missing is last year it was like job sharing with David Silva. It was good, but he just didn't play that much, and minutes weren't that great when he did play because he was always getting subbed on and off. But this year, obviously, he's not playing second fiddle to David Silva. So I think actual on-pitch SO5 last season versus this season, I think it would have to be praise the Brais Mendes.
I like that. I'm looking at mine, and the first one that really sticks out for me as a goalkeeper, Rafael Romo, who I think, like his cards are from his time at Leuven. But then he spent some time on loan in the MLS, and he was in and out of the starting lineup there. I picked him up because I found out he was moving clubs. So he's moved to the Ecuadorian league. And he is an international as well. So he's actually pretty much made the number one his own at Universidad Católica in Ecuador. And they have done pretty well. And like just looking at his like L15, 61, L5 of 64. He's kept clean sheets at international level. And I think I picked him up for like 0.2, something like that, roughly. Obviously the market's gone up and down in that since, but he's kind of held his value. But if the market stayed where it was, he'd probably be a 0.8, 0.9 card given his output since. So I think I'll give it to him without going too deep into the gallery and the stats of it. But he definitely strikes me as a card that was a bit of a risk. And now, on any given game week could be the best goalkeeping option I've got across my entire gallery. So Rafael Romo, most improved player award.
Well done, Romo. Just want to pick up the chat for some good stuff here. Misaki's asking if we're picking up any celebration cards. And I think maybe a better way of thinking about this, because it's a wee bit more end of year Christmassy. Great question, Rascal. Is we've got the celebration cards. We had something else. I forget what. But we've got some like special edition stuff kind of all happening. Away kits. That's what it was.
Yes.
I picked up an away kit doke. Some of the celebration cards look amazing. One of the things that's stopping me from getting them is it does seem like they're limited availability. Like there isn't that many of them. And it's like, we're selling them now. And then they're done. And it's like, well, I've not got money now, so I'm not going to get them. So that's kind of where I'm at. I really like them. I would want a Griezmann or a Wirtz, maybe I don't know if there's any German. I've not really seen all the German ones, but a Griezmann is definitely top of my wish list in that sense. And then the other little bit in the chat, and I'll give it to you, Stishy, is Zala Banzi telling us to check out your Cherky SR because he's been cleaning up for you as well.
He's definitely part of the team that's currently sat first, so he has a bit of end product at right potential straight away. But I'm going to have a look at that because it's easy for me to look at that card and like disregard it sometimes because of the price I paid. I think I paid for it a bit in the sense that it was one of those where I was like, had a bit of ETH saved away, and I thought, what am I going to do with this? And decided to spend most of it on this Cherky SR. I think there was a little bit of it because it was that rookie season, like the 15-year-old Mathis Cherky card. So I paid 3.5 ETH for it, which is way more than it probably goes for now. Floor price is like 1.2. Last auction 0.53 for a Cherky. Obviously this season he hasn't been as nailed on as he was towards the end of last season. But Lyon are definitely in the ascendance at the minute. Started getting some results together, and Cherky had a great game last night against who they play? Was it Strasbourg last night?
Who
Or was
did they
it
play? I've just drawn a blank as
was it-
well. Maybe in Strasbourg or
Metz was at PSG, wasn't it? It wasn't Metz last night. Who did they played? Nantes last night. So put up a really nice 83.4 score. So we're seeing him back to his best. But having a little look at his rewards that he's won for me. I mean, he was part of the team that won the Matt O'Reilly for me. Connor Cody, super rare, Wandy Sanchez. And he was part of the team that won me the Mbappe. So, I mean, I do definitely have to give a special shout out to him. If we look at his yield in terms of, I've spent that 3.5 on him. According to Sorare data, the total value of cards I've won at the time of winning, 5.89. But obviously 3 of that is the Mbappe. So let's say if it didn't win Mbappe, I would have won 2.5 back. But the beauty of Cherky is he's still only 20, isn't it? So the whole point of buying him was, in my head, I thought, who's going to be a better forward card on the platform than this for U23 for the foreseeable, right? He's got another 3 seasons, I think, of utility. So, I think I need to continue to build around that card if I'm trying to compete in U23, Rare Plus or Super Rare. That is a card that I can continue to rely on for years to come. And I'm sure he will be taking down a Player of the Season award at some point in the not so distant future. So cheers for that. Good shout. And looking at it, definitely won me some nice rewards. Matt O'Reilly and Mbappe. Definitely 2 of the best cards I've got.
Young Player of the Year. We'll give him that.
Young Player of the Year. I like that. Who's your Young Player of the Year on that note then?
I would, it feels kind of cheating, but I could probably only really give it to O'Reilly.
Yeah, he has been extremely good.
I don't really think there's anyone else that... Yeah, O'Reilly.
On the subject of O'Reilly, one thing that's been sort of running through my head a bit is obviously the end of the season and the winter transfer market opening. He's been linked to a lot of clubs, as you would expect. A lot of the talk from Celtic is that they put a price on him and he would have to be their all-time highest sale.
Yep.
I think that they kind of feel like they're gonna have to let him go at some point. He's gonna go. As from a Sorare perspective, is this the time that you have to consider selling a card like this?
Well, I'll tell you this, Tish. I know for as much as anyone in our position can know that O'Reilly has been scouted for the last month or 2 by Leicester and Newcastle. So if Newcastle show up with 40 or 50 million, I don't know what it is. He's just signed a new contract, so he'll have a chunky release clause in it. He'll probably have a Premier League specific release clause in it as well. Whatever it is, record transfer, I'm sure it'll be for Celtic. We just sold Jota for the thick end of 30 or something like that, 35. And like you say earlier, he does. Oh, no, it wasn't this podcast. Sorry, I was on the Celtic podcast this morning. But he does qualify Champions League style as homegrown English.
Oh, wow.
So for Newcastle or whatever, that's mad value, So Leicester, I don't see him leaving us to go play Leicester and try and win the championship. I don't see that happening in January. It could happen in the summer if they get promoted and they're splashing the cash.
Yeah.
But O'Reilly, bottom line for me is if he's not at Celtic, you're running the same risk as every other transfer that's ever happened. But if he goes to Newcastle, he's probably not going to play that often, especially next season when Tonali comes back into the fold. You've then got an even busier midfield. And Leicester, he'll probably be the main man in midfield for them, to be honest. So kind of really depends on the destination. I hope now more and more people are less scared of their players transferring because there's tons of great... Carl Starfelt, fantastic example. Everyone shat the bed when he left Celtic for Celta. But if you look at his scores, they're actually better at Celta than they were at Celtic, which is bizarre that you can go from challenger to champion, top of the table to bottom of the table. And he gets a last man tackle every game, it feels like, or a goal line clearance or something. He is just reigning decisives. We've obviously seen the likes of Matoma go to the Premier League and do well in spells. And even Isak had cards before going to Newcastle. He does well now. Trippier, You know,
Yeah.
so I think if you know your player well enough, you know the move well enough. I wouldn't be too worried about transfers. We've got a comment here. What are the dream January transfers? I don't know if there is a dream one for O'Reilly. I think the dream is he stays. But,
For me, yeah.
either that, the only dream January transfer I've got is Rune Bargaji from Copenhagen. I'm dying for him to transfer because then Larson will get back into the team. So he's been linked to Chelsea and a few other clubs. So I really hope Rune Bardage or whatever his name is from Copenhagen, I hope he gets a January move.
I like that. Yeah. So they're saying Rascal Masaki saying for your gallery, what would be the dream move? So I think for me right now, I could really do with another super rare goalkeeper option. So some kind of loan move or a permanent move for Etienne Green or someone like that to move to maybe like an okay championship side that are going to compete and he's going to start in. I could or any of my I've got quite a few goalkeepers I'm sat on that are just not playing just yet. So it might not even be a move. It might be an injury. It might be a slot in the first team for one of those super rare goalkeepers that I've got sat on a little 0 L15. So yeah, I think that would help me compete on a few more fronts. At the moment, I'm definitely not getting the use out of a lot of my super rares because I'm only really able to put a team in 240 and then maybe 220. So yeah, a dream transfer for me would be one of my super rare goalkeepers getting a move. On the subject of that, Salabanzi's jumped in asking, is Tani back at Gamba when J1 starts? According to Transfermarkt, no. According to Transfermarkt, he's back at the end of the Belgian second division season, which is like June or July. So that'll be interesting to keep an eye on.
Yeah. I was going to say, I've just thought of two other funny ones. So in terms of dream transfers, I don't know if this one's funny, but like I would really like it to happen, but it would be like Talis Magno to Celtic. I think he would help us in midfield. He'd be really good in Scotland as well. And then another, this is like the funny one. So dream transfer, Edward to replace Haaland and play up front for City every week.
Yeah, I mean that's
a dream transfer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it depends what you're after, but I've got one of each.
on that note, I would like Shoji Toyama of Gamba's youth product to move to City and become the starter ahead of Haaland because I've been waiting for that guy to play his first minutes. I think he came off the bench once for Gamba this season, and he's been in my gallery for about 3 years. I just don't know if he's ever going to get a start. So yeah, be interesting to see if any of these materialize. But I've definitely got a few cards I'd love to just see start to play. I've got a lot of cards that are sat at the bottom of the gallery that I've never seen play. So yeah, a few of those. Be always nice to see. You know, the little surprises you get on Sorare Day when you see your grayed out players with a score and you're like, he played? Huh? He's back? He's in the squad? Like, I've got a few of those. And yeah, I think all of those are a little bit dreamy. And the value that they can bring to your gallery as well. When people talk about your gallery value going down, the minute that you've got those players, I've got a lot of players like that in my gallery. I'd say like there might even be as much as 10% of my gallery that is literally like dormant players that I'm waiting to break into the first team or move to a club or get coverage again or something like that. And yeah, the minute a few of those move, their value goes, like some of them go 10x. If it's like a super rare goalkeeper or something like that, you know, they go from 200 quid to 1,500. Do you know what I mean? In overnight almost. So yeah, there's probably a lot of people that can familiarize with that. You know, a few moves for those like players that just you can't even consider putting into your lineups. Always nice having options. It's like making a new signing when that happens, isn't it?
It is indeed. It is indeed. And you know, sometimes you get that in your gallery, and it's, you know, they're the ones that kind of help you out the most. Like I've had some wee bit part guys that have turned out to be halfway decent this year, which has been nice as well. But that, yeah, it's nice. You need a bit of depth, but to be able to enjoy that, because when you keep your gallery mad lean, you don't really get that surprise of, oh, he's played, oh, he's back, you know. I actually forgot all about Kositani. I'm just looking at him now, like, man, he's mad cheap. Obviously, he's totally shelved at the moment, but yeah, Tani boy.
He's not even getting minutes in the second tier of Belgian football either. He's not
Well, I've
played.
not been getting notifications, I suppose, but yeah, I'd just assumed.
He's played one game in the cup for them. That's it. They're out of the cup now, apparently. So he might not play again unless a serious injury's there. Sometimes he's not even on the bench. So
Yeah.
I'd expect him to go back to Gamba because there's no point in him staying there if he's doing that. Do you know what I mean? Or, maybe Gamba let him go elsewhere because he did a good job at Shonan, didn't he? So maybe there's a move elsewhere for him. And that maybe will happen in January if he's really unhappy there. I mean, at his age, I don't know, do some of these moves happen just to give them experience outside of Japan? Or, I think another one in my gallery that did similar was Daiki Matsuoka, who was relegated with S-Pulse and then sent on loan to the second tier of Brazilian football. And he barely played a minute there. I think he's back now at S-Pulse for next season. I'm not sure if they went up in the end, actually. I didn't see how the promotion played out in J2 because I think they made the playoffs. Let's have a little look and see if they go up. But yeah, he was a player, like exciting youth player in and amongst the Japanese, under 23s, under 21s, gets relegated, gets sent to Brazil, doesn't play. I don't think anyone's really seen much of him now. So it's, crazy. But I've got a few of those in my gallery. So yeah, I'm just having a look at standings. Sorry, I'm sort of waffling here now. But so yeah, we know that Zelvia went up, and I think Jubilo Iwata went up. Let's see if Tokyo Verdy and S-Pulse. I think Verdy went up, didn't they? Did they go up?
I remember they went down recently. Are they back?
I think Verdy won on pens, if I'm not mistaken. I can't see. Doesn't actually say. It's not clear on Google anyway.
Got you.
I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that Tokyo Verdy were going up next season.
Oh, we've got some experts in the chat. Somebody will keep us right.
Let's have a look. Yes. Yeah. So Tokyo Verdy went up. Shimizu stayed down. They did go up. So yeah, that'll be interesting to see what happens to some of those players. But yeah, be all eyes on the movers and shakers. There's definitely a few decent players with cards coming up into the J League. Question for you, Quinny, and also for the chat is: I was doing a little bit of scouting yesterday online, and one of the players that came up was a player who plays in a team, Makita Zelvia, who have been promoted from the J League into J1 from J2. And there's a few potential bargains there, £25 for a player who has done really well in J2 for them. They're going up. He's got low supply out there now. Would you buy a player now who's just going up, or would you wait and see what kind of prices his early mints go when inevitably, we get mints of him in the first tier in J1? Would you buy a player like that now, or would you hold out and wait and see what happens?
I would hold and wait and see, because I don't think they've got the same what's the word, like, for lack of a better term, sex appeal to maybe like the European stuff when it comes out. And in my experience, certainly anyway, like, if you're going to be doing this, most people nowadays do have collection lenses on, so you're going to want the multi-match at some point, so maybe save your pain of dealing with it with the pick and mix collection and trying to get it all uniform later on.
Yeah,
and just wait for it to go uniform in the first place.
True. Rascal Misaki is saying that Makita Zelvia are rich and looking to go big, so it's tough to say what their team will look like once the season kicks off. So yeah, that's another point. Good point. That's where like the knowledge of these divisions comes in, isn't it? Because I didn't know a lot about that club, and the fact that Rascal Misaki in the chat is saying that they are rich, if they're going to go and splash the cash. I know that they've already bought Nasang Ho actually from FC Seoul as well. We were talking about Seoul earlier in the podcast, and he's a player that I think they've picked up already. So that's a Korean international. Do you know what I mean? That's a good signing for any club in the J League. So
yeah.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think at the moment it's probably best to sit out of any cards that are going to get minted anyway. Not like, if a player moves to the Chinese Super League, you can kind of justify maybe jump in now, get that, because you know that it's highly unlikely we're going to get mints from that league. It might stay covered like it has done up to then. So, yeah, there's a few leagues like that, isn't there? When you get a move to those, sometimes it's worth paying the money to just get them, knowing that no one else is going to be able to get the cards of that player if they turn into a monster. And I think the Chinese Super League definitely has produced a few of those in recent seasons. So yeah, naturally it makes you look at these moves. But yeah, I would agree. Best to wait and see, get those collection bonuses in. And especially another thing to mention is I would expect, right, that the J League cards will probably be the first in the new design. They usually are, right? So I would expect the J League cards to look different to our current season 3D European cards. What do you reckon? Think they're already working on those?
Yeah, I think like they changed it at the beginning of the year, saying that rather than the new season designs coming out with Asia, they're going to come out with Europe. So I think like the Americans ones that have just came out have slightly got an in between version, like the South American clubs, that, like Palmeiras just came out, the new editions of the Ecuadorian clubs and whatever. So yeah, I think they'll uniform up with Europe with the next edition. I think this topic kind of brings us on to something we were knocking around before we came on a little bit as well, because at the moment Ethereum's moving quite a lot. And making, in my experience anyway, buying cards in the market when Ethereum is so volatile. Volatile is not always a bad word. It doesn't always mean it's going down. Sometimes it can mean it's going up. For me, I'm always really hesitant to spend money when the day-to-day valuation of Ethereum is a couple £100 different. You know what I mean? Because it can be quite, it can be the difference between getting one player and getting two. Some of the times, or getting 3 players rather than 2 or something. So me personally, I'm always really nervous spending money when ETH is so volatile, unless like I wake up one morning and I get, now there's different settings, so you can pin your listing to ETH or to pounds. But unless I'm like looking at something, like I'm looking at now, for example, at cards that, let's just imagine I'm looking at cards that are pinned to cash amounts and I've got an ETH wallet. If I wake up tomorrow and my ETH is suddenly worth 10% more, then that card just got 10% cheaper. So that kind of thing, sometimes if I've been eyeing it up already, now the market allows for that a little bit more. In the old days, you would just snipe an old listing that somebody hadn't taken off the market and reposted.
That's right.
So now you're kind of looking for ones that you can see have got a funny Ethereum balance because it's stuck to £500 flat, not 0.3 Ethereum flat or whatever. And it's maybe just monitoring those ones and then seeing like, oh, my ETH is more valuable today, so I'll make that purchase today. It'll actually take less off me or whatever. So that's just something, because again, we've got a lot of guys out there that are crypto hungry now, that are listing cards into the market, and it's causing a lot of conversations around the community. Let's say I see this whale selling up. I see Max HG, the guy that runs Sorare Data. I see he's selling a lot of cards. I see Joe Bettman selling cards again. This isn't me. This is just group chat. I'm quoting, but like that kind of vibe. So yeah, but ETH is moving. It's funny operating in the market.
Yeah. I think I kind of came into Sorare. Obviously, I was into football, so it wasn't like I came into it from like an Ethereum perspective, but it definitely, one of the original kind of appeals to the game for me was, this is more fun than putting it into like a yield farm where I might get some like some APR back for holding on to this Ethereum or whatever. So there must be a lot of people in the community like that kind of came into this as a money making exercise, or like a bit more of a fun way of putting your Ethereum to work. So I think there will naturally be a few people at the moment that are desperately trying to liquidate chunks of their gallery in order to hold as much Ethereum as possible for the next run. And then I guess when the run kind of like levels out, when people feel like maybe the legs are gone on it, or that we might see some sideways movement for a bit, then they'll flood back in, pick the cards up that they sold a couple months back for half the price in Ethereum, and be sat on a nice little chunk of it. For me personally, it's been part of the reason why I kept all my rewards coming in Ethereum, for that reason, that I just saw it as like, right, let's start like putting some savings away. Any of the rewards you get, hold them in Ethereum and be ready to like ride, hopefully, the wave up on the price of Ethereum. So That's been my play. I've sold bits and bobs like we've been talking about. I've been needing to slim my gallery, and I've managed to do a little bit of that. Got rid of pretty much all my NBA cards actually, just to focus solely on football now. Probably took a loss on most of those, but yeah, it liquidated a bit of the gallery at least, and that's probably going to be my play. I don't know about you, Quinny. Are you looking at the price of Ethereum? Does that come into your thoughts in terms of when it's time to sell, etc.?
I'm kind of always looking at the same couple of players. The same couple of players kind of changes throughout time, obviously, but like I brought in Kunku in last week, who was on the floor. Basically, it feels like I traded him when he was at his lowest point, and now he's played a cup game, probably a DNP 0 card coming into the game week this week, which is fun. And I got Joanne Jordan, super rare, traded in this week. He was worth nothing. They've changed manager. I fancy him to have a good turn. That's the only sort of stuff like I kind of referenced earlier. When the market does move like this so much, it's just like, is there a guy that's got stupid cheap that I don't mind getting now that would help me out? I'm more after the guys that go cheap in this time rather than expensive guys getting less expensive, or yeah, that kind of thing. I'm more after who's just became mad cheap for no reason that I've been eyeing up, but couldn't justify spending what he was going for on him. But now he's down here. And yeah, some of the guys might be in a less favourable position, which is why the market is more harsher to them. Like maybe they're not a regular, maybe they're not that great or whatever, but you kind of need to accept some conditions. I got Gretzky super rare this year, and it was one of my happiest moments of the year, probably, with getting that card. It was a huge kind of culmination of a saga, it felt like. But it was the worst time to get that card because Tuchel's the manager, number one, and number two, that midfield position, he's not got it nailed down anymore. So I need to accept that. I don't get upset with him, or I don't go, oh, what a stupid move I made. I just accept it. I've been trying to get this guy for ages, and I just need to accept when I can get him and get him when I can. That's kind of where I'm at with a lot of this stuff at the moment in terms of what I'll be doing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it all boils down to lots of things, doesn't it? I think so long as you're still enjoying the game, I think so long as you still feel like there's obviously like a value to playing the game. I think there's the fun aspect of it, but there is still that aspect that you want to win, right? And I think that one of the main issues or worries that I had, if anything at all recently, was the DMP rewards causing such a stir in the community, because I think that that's the most dangerous thing that can happen to the product. Personally, for me, is if people don't think they can win good rewards, then they won't bother spending their time on it. And if the rewards aren't good and people don't buy, then people aren't buying good cards to win rewards, the price of the cards comes down. And the price of the cards comes down, there's less money to go out into the prize pools, and then the whole thing comes a little bit unstuck, doesn't it? So I think that's the key thing that So Rare probably knows they need to keep right, is the sentiment towards the rewards. And rewards need to be they need to be sought after. Those cards, you need to want to win. If you don't want to win, then you don't want to play, do you, really? So yeah, I think that's another thing that maybe it's a bit of a shitstorm in the sense that you don't need that kind of thought going into anyone's head at the same time that Ethereum's about to potentially go on a run, because then it's like, oh shit, I'm not sure if the rewards are good, I want the money instead, and maybe I sell my cards now before. So I think there's a lot of that playing into people's heads at the minute. So yeah, be keeping an eye on it 100%, and yeah, trying to figure out who's selling, why, what, when, where, and how. I saw Tony's been in the market as well. Tony, if you're listening, happy Christmas. But Tony's been in the market again, hasn't he? He's been talking about picking up super rare goalkeepers again. I know he's been into uniques recently. His gallery changes all the time, doesn't it? Every time I look at it, it's like looking at someone else's gallery. It's like he gets rid of everything to buy something else, and then that all goes for something else a few months later. So it's hard to keep up with him. Tony, if you're listening, I hope you're all set for Christmas, and I hope you got that goalkeeper you were looking for, mate. Because I know he was trying to figure out who was selling up and putting some cheeky bids in. But that is, I guess, what these situations is good for, isn't it? Is picking up a bargain from someone who's trying to get a bit of cash in the wallet. So I'll be keeping a keen eye on that, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's probably all of us for today, Stishy Boy. I think this is going to be riding off into the sunset on a magical sleigh, dragged by reindeers, taking us into the game week, hoping to see if we get any wee rewards, any end product over the Christmas period. It's a bit of a funny game week we're coming into this weekend as well. Celtic and Aston Villa are amongst the top 3 clubs this week. It's a bit of a half game week, but a bit of a weekend one. And I'm hoping reward night on Friday is good to all of you guys after all these DNP rewards. Stish especially, of course, because he's topping Cap 240. And hopefully then, Sorare are in the Christmas spirit. And then the next reward day we get, which will be like Christmas, will be Boxing Day actually, the next reward day. Let me just check. When's Tuesday? Yeah, Boxing Day.
They should just send all of us these little reward boxes on Christmas Day, let's be honest.
Oh, imagine.
We should all have a little reward box.
A wee cheeky Christmas drop. Yeah, a wee airdrop on Christmas. That would be cheeky, wouldn't it? That'd be nice. So yeah, let's hope it's a festive, Friday and Tuesday kind of trophy day for everyone. And we'll be back for the End Product podcast before the new year, certainly, and after Christmas. But Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope you enjoy it with your friends and family. Me and Stishy Boy are very grateful to everyone that tunes into the show over the year. And we hope you get to spend it with whoever you want to, whether it's someone or no one.
That's it. Happy Christmas, everyone. And we'll be back this time next week with the post-Christmas come down. Fingers crossed for a bit of end product on it. Cheers, everyone.